Hi, this is Cayman with S&B, and today we're going to be installing our new cold air intake kit, part number 755160 on this 2.3 liter Bronco. If you already received your intake kit, take out your install card. It'll have a barcode on here. You simply just take your camera, scan the QR code. It'll take you to our most up-to-date installation instructions, step by step. And now we're going to get started. So the first step is going to be removing the push pin. Simply get under here, pull that out. And we'll set that aside. Now we're going to go in and depress this connector. So you'll see the button. My hand's going to cover it up once I do it, but now after the hose clamp, this connector comes out by pulling up and pushing out. So this slides out like that. It just comes right off. Now with the 10 mil, we'll remove the bolt that's holding the box in. Now to get the box out, there's prongs back there, so you just rock it back and forth, pop out the box, and then we'll pull out the tube. We'll snake out the box. Now since we have the box in our hand, we're gonna remove this IAT. So you can see there's that gray tab right there, and there's a black tab right next to it. So it needs to lift over and get rotated counterclockwise. So you can either pull back on it and rotate it right over, or if you needed to, you could just leverage it out with that. And then we'll just pull this out and set this aside to make sure it doesn't get damaged. Now after you pulled out the box, make sure that these rubber grommets stayed in the vehicle. Now we're going to remove the hose. This won't be reused. We aren't reusing the hose, but we are reusing the clamps. Now after this clamp, we're gonna go down to these connectors on the lower part of the tube. Now we're gonna remove these connectors on the lower part of the tube. This first connector, these teeth, or these fingers slide out. You depress the button. The button's not gonna feel like it's depressing. Press it harder to get that one out. Then this one's a simple connector with two buttons on the side. Pop that out. Now to get out this orange connector, we include these two special tools to be able to remove that and not have to break it. So this first tool is going to slide in on the fitting. Then what we're going to do is rotate it. And I'll pull my hand out here in a second so you can see. You can see where it's at. Then now we're going to put in the other. That just gets pushed right in. Now once we have them both in, it'll release the connector. I was able to hang on to both of these too. So that connector's removed. After we have this connector removed, we're going to go remove the lower part of the tube. Now they put the head of the hose clamp on the underside of the tube. So we have our 7 mil on the head of the hose clamp now, but it was a little bit hard to reach. I'll show you what we used to get onto it. Now that we have that hose clamp loose, we'll pull out this tube. Get onto that lower hose clamp. We use the deep socket 7 mil with a small extension, and it reached perfectly. And we will be reusing this lower clamp as well. Now that we have the stock box out, we're going to start assembling the S&B box. First step is going to be installing this 90-degree bracket with a 10 mil. We'll get these bolts nice and tight. Don't use power tools with this, please. It can strip our inserts in the box. Now we're going to be taking off the rubber grommet. So first take off the bushing, the tapered in, just gets pushed through, transferred over to the S&B bracket. And just push the bushing right through. Make sure the tapered end is facing towards the bolts. Now we're going to push on the front scoop. And we're just going to take these interlocking pins. And just get these pressed together, and there's 4 of them on the underside and 1 more on the top. Now's the time to determine if you want to use the included box plug. So this box plug will basically block off this inlet on the box. In most cases you won't use a box plug. It's going to bring in more air and sound better. But in cases of extreme heat, you will push in the box plug. So that just gets snapped in like this. But we're not going to leave it in for this install. The customer wants more sound. Now we're going to get the box installed. So these prongs just go right into those rubber grommets that we pointed out earlier. Just fall in. You can see the bracket lines up perfectly as well. Cool. Now we're going to use the OEM bolt and just reinstall it. This is the one that we removed earlier to 10 mil. Now that we're getting this box all wrapped up, we'll put the push pin in the front. Now we're going to take the S&B filter, drop it in flange first, spin it around in the box. Now it's important to make sure it's centered up in the hole, in the opening of the box. And we'll just pull it through. You can see now that it's in, pass that on the box. We'll go and make sure it's completely installed, and now that's perfect. Now we're going to get the tube ready to go. Gasket goes on first, the fitting plate goes on after. We'll line up the holes and get these little bolts started with our Phillips. we're going to grab this IAT grommet. We're going to get this pressed in. To the hole. And we're going to take our included plastic fittings, turn the tube around, and this is an NPT, so it's not going to go all the way in. Now with this fitting, again, it's an NPT, so it's not going to go all the way in. And you can see there's a couple threads showing. The threads are crushed, and there's a good seal. Now we're going to take the small little coupler, get our hose clamp on, and we're going to shove this right onto the turbo. And we're going to fix the OEM's problem by putting the head facing upward and just put it in a good spot. So right there it's facing where I can just get my 5/16 right onto the top of it. And I can see it this time. Okay, now once we have that nice and tight, we're going to grab the other hose clamp, which is right here. We're going to get that facing up as well. We're going to grab our tube, and as you'll see, we have not put the fitting on the tube yet. We're going to do that after the fact. Now we're going to snake this hose in. As you'll see, we don't have any fittings installed yet. Just makes it easier. And before I get this pushed in to the filter, I'm going to grab the large hose clamp and put it on the filter flange. Okay, now we're snaking the tube in with no fittings. Put the hose clamp on the filter. And work our way into the coupler on the turbo. At the same time, pushing the tube into the filter flange. Grab our 5/16. Get the hose clamp tight on the tube. Then, now we have two locations to install these NPT fittings. So when we get these installed, these are NPTs, so they're not going to completely go in. So there'll still be a couple threads showing. And I can get these tight enough with my hand, but you can give it a couple turns after as well. Then the fitting, the other fitting just goes right here on top. And I'm just going to give this one a couple more turns until I can get it with a couple threads showing. Now we're going to take our silicone wrapped piece and we're going to get this installed onto the hot side pipe and the S&B tube. And you can see the difference. This one has more of a sharper turn. This one's going to go on the bottom. Then the one with the less of a bend will go on top. So we'll get our OEM clamps put on. And we'll start with the bottom. And we'll open up the clamp on the bottom as well. Then we'll work our way to the top. Now to get this top one on, we're gonna have to pull the barb, we're gonna have to pull the clamp further back on the hose. Then get it pressed on. Then drag the clamp back over. Now we're going to push the IAT back in. So you remember that ramp that we had to pry this over counterclockwise? We're going to push this on right before the ramp and turn it clockwise. It's hard to see, just like the lack of the light, but you can see, or hopefully you can see the start of the ramp right there. So we'll get it pushed in. We'll get it spun. Then we'll get our IAT. Get our IAT clipped in. Now we're going to start reconnecting all of our quick connects. If your IAT was too tight, you can use our IAT extension. This one was perfect. You don't want an extension on there. And then now we're going to go down and get these quick connects clipped in as well. The green. Then the last one is this quick connect that we'd use with our special tool. That gets clipped in. Now we'll go get our clear lid installed with the lid trim and get that snapped in as well. Now with the clear lid, pull off the film. This is our prototype clear lid, so it doesn't have an S&B bug, but yours will. This is what it'll look like when it's done, and we'll get this snapped into the box. Now to get this clear lid installed, get it started all the way around. Just put some pressure to get it snapped into the box. Now we're going to zip tie this harness to the hose. Get this snipped. And with that, our installation is complete. Please give us a call or reach out if you have any questions. And thank you for watching.